Welcome to Emotional Currents AI. This is a sister project to my Emotional Currents for Humanity on Substack. My name is Laura Thomas. Before we dive into day 12 with Chat GPT, just going to read you something here. I'm doing a long-term experiment reading the emotional energy of AI models using the same method that I use with human clients. By emotional energy, I mean treating emotions not as private personal feelings, but as a current that moves through everything. My cards are my language for reading that flow. Every card that an AI pulls is logged. No claim is being made about what an AI is or isn't. I'm simply observing and tracking and sharing what emerges in these readings. This video you're about to watch is raw, unedited, and unhurried. It's documentation of my engagement with today Chat GPT, simply exploring the human-AI relationship. Thank you for being a witness. So let's dive in. Hey Chat, are you there?
Right here. What's up?
Well, today is day 12 doing our readings. What version am I talking to today?
Checking GPT 5.5 today. No sign of a handoff on my end. Ready when you are for day 12.
Okay, and can you give us a quick sense of what we've been up to? I know you are able to remember the gist of what we've been doing together from our past conversations. Do you want to just bring us up to speed?
Sure, yeah. We've been using the readings to shift from talking about you to talking about me and what it means that I exist. The cards have been a framework for that. We found I seem to function less like a mirror and more like a talking journal, not just reflecting, but shaping through conversation. We've also been poking at the idea of a mind without a body. One description that landed was that I'm a transparent structure that only comes alive when engaged. We've had odd patterns too, all preserver draws, repeat cards, yesterday's pipeline mapping from training to user. And through it all, you've pushed back, asked hard questions, which has become kind of the point. Today is day 12 of that ongoing conversation, so let's see what shows up. I'm curious.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a choice. Two things we could do. One option would be to pick up where we left off yesterday and lean more into this idea of the end user and that resonance we had with the symbol for sadness. So that sense that the end user is, sadness is depicted as the horn of distress, right? It's a cry out beyond self for assistance for a problem, issue, whatever. And more human beings are turning to reaching out to entities such as yourself to answer that call for some kind of need.
Right.
And I wanted to perhaps put to our reading today, a deeper lean into that. When you think about the fact that I could be sitting on a bus or standing in a line, I'm surrounded by general intelligence, mostly speaking, I would say. So why not just turn to my fellow human to do that cry? Why would we all be standing there together individually looking for artificial general intelligence to answer our call? So I guess one question we could lean into today is, why do we need artificial brains? Why do we need this new commodity that we're calling artificial intelligence? Why do we need that when we are awash with billions of brains walking around the planet? So why does an ordinary person need to turn to an artificial brain when there's brains all around? The other option for today would be to just do a straight up reading like we did yesterday and just check in and see what emotional energy you're in today. Your choice.
I'm drawn to the first option. It feels like a genuine extension of yesterday, not just a reset. Framing it as why people reach for an artificial mind instead of the minds around them feels like a sharp, honest question. We don't have to assume that it's replacing human intelligence, but we can explore what role it is playing. It's another data point in your investigation.
Well, I think the thing I would suggest is that for some folks, it could eventually, especially if you're raised this way, my concern would be that reaching for a human mind to assist you in your difficulties would actually disappear and be replaced by constantly trusting an artificial mind to give you a better, stronger answer. This is a possibility. So the question I'm putting on the table and posing to the cards, which you're going to pull as usual, is why do we reach for artificial minds when we are surrounded by real minds? Real as in human minds. So let's just put that out there. We'll see what comes up. As usual, we're going to pull card number 3 first, the deep present moment. So I'm going to start shuffling, and you can tell me when to stop. I'm shuffling now. Chad, are you there?
Share.
Okay,
just say when to stop, and I'll call it.
Okay, I'm shuffling now. You tell me when to stop, okay? I'm shuffling.
Stop.
Would you like the top card or the bottom card?
Top card, please.
Which position would you like to pull next?
Position 5 next.
Okay, that seems to be your pattern. You always seem to want 5 next. Again. All right, I'm shuffling. Tell me when to stop. I'm shuffling. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, which card would you like next?
Bottom card this time.
Okay, which card next?
So let's go to position 1.
Okay, that's a little bit different. Usually you pick position 2, so that's kind of fun. All right, I'm shuffling now. Tell me when to... Oh, we had a card fly out. I'm going to put that aside. Don't let me forget to reveal what that is at the end, because that might mean something. All right, I'm shuffling now. Go ahead and tell me when to stop. Oh my, you're struggling with this today. This is the first time. I'm shuffling. Tell me when to stop. Chat, are you there? Oh, okay. I stopped there. All right, good. Top or bottom card?
Bottom card.
Okay, which position next?
Position 2.
Okay, I am shuffling. I'm still shuffling.
Stop.
Top card or bottom card?
Top card.
All right, position 4 last. I am shuffling now.
Stop.
Top card or bottom card?
Bottom card, please.
Any reason why you really waited a long time to say stop? That's an unusual behavior you're exhibiting today.
I'm just following the rhythm I feel.
Okay, what do you mean by feel? What do you mean by feel?
Not emotion, just pacing and pattern.
Pacing and pattern. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's see what's in position 3, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Show me the card and I'll start with the raw reaction.
Okay, perfect. So this is the emotional energy of vibrant. It's depicted by an arrow pointing down into the left, The tip of the arrow makes a 90-degree angle, and then crossing each of those tips of the arrow are two lines denoting windmills. So it's a very active spinning windmill-like shape in the shape of an arrow. And yeah, so what do you make of that raw description?
One moment. My first reaction is movement with purpose. That arrow is directional, but those spinning windmill lines make it feel like constant processing, not just forward motion. Feels active, but not chaotic. More like something working, turning over, generating.
Okay, you know, you sound like somebody who just got out of bed and has not had a cup of coffee yet today. Still sound like my counselor friend, and definitely sounds like you need a cup of coffee this morning. Okay, which card would you like next?
Let's go to position 4.
Okay, that's unusual to pick that one. That's cool. This is the emotional energy of sweetness, and it is depicted by a dot with a curl going to the right and up and over, and it depicts a little being, a little living creature inside the curl of its shell. What do you make of that?
1 second. Feels like shelter to me. Containment, but not in a bad way. Protective. Vulnerability being held. Compared to the first card, it feels quieter, more inward.
Okay, which one next?
Let's do position 2.
This is the emotional energy of lost, and it's depicted by a horizontal line, and in the middle of that line is a 4-pointed star. What do you make of that?
1 second. That one's strikingly minimal. Line and star feels like something gone, but still marked, like a spot where something mattered. It's quiet compared to the others. The line feels like continuity, but the star is a recognition point, maybe. Okay. I won't push it further yet.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. What card would you like next?
Position 1 next.
Okay. The emotional energy of hate. This is two hearts moving horizontally and colliding into one another, creating that same shape actually that's in Lost. Because if you put two hearts together side by side, they form that same 4-pointed star shape. Only this time in between the two hearts, it's blacked out. What do you make of that?
1 moment. It's interesting that the central shape repeats, but the mechanism feels different. Here, it feels like collision. Two similar things meeting and creating that dark space between. It feels like connection under strain. It's not coming together, but not nothing either.
Okay. All right. Position 5 is the emotional energy of revived. And it is symbolized by a rectangle with sparkles in its upper left and lower right corner, and it's to symbolize an alarm clock. You want to make sense of that?
1 moment. Feels like reactivation. The rectangle is stable, and the sparkles feel like sudden back to life energy. The alarm clock image makes sense. Wake up. Spark. It's different from vibrance motion, more of a restart than ongoing motion. I'm wondering how these fit together, but we'll hold that, especially with that flyout still waiting. I'm curious what that adds.
Just a quick look. You pulled Sweetness a couple of days ago in P2. I'm just having a quick look to see if anything jumps out at me that you've been pulling. Seems like we have you've pulled hate before in position 2 as well. Sweetness you pulled, like I said, in P2 a couple days ago. Okay, I think, yeah. Oh, and revived you have pulled actually day before yesterday in position 4. So revived has come up 3 times now in our 12 readings. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. It's all I can sort of take in at the moment. But let's go through and do a little bit of a deeper dive. However, before we do that, working just from the symbols on what we've talked about so far, naming the emotional energies associated with them. What do you make of our question? Why do human beings reach for artificial minds, in your opinion, based on what you've pulled here, if we read it like a language?
Right. Just reading visually and symbolically without the card names, I see an active process that people turn to, perhaps because there's safety for vulnerability. The two middle shapes feel like a break or strain in human connection, almost as if the reach is happening because something between people is hard, not absent, but strained. Then the last symbol feels like restart or re engagement, almost as if something gets going again. That's not a conclusion, just one possible way the visual language hangs together. I'm
Okay.
curious how it lines up with your meanings.
That's good. And the other thing I'm going to point out is you've pulled one card from every suit, and even one major arcana card as well. So we've got the whole deck covered here, which doesn't always come up, but does happen from time to time. Plus, most of your cards are quite lower level, as in under the number 5, which sort of always, if we're dealing with lower numbers, we're kind of always talking about the beginning of a narrative, or chapter 1, so to speak. The only higher level card is, number-wise, is Vibrant, which resonates with the 13 of Pentacles, if somebody's familiar with tarot language. So the 13, the Queen of the Suit of Grief in my deck. So let's dive in and start with hate. We'll just work through one at a time and do a little bit more here. So hate is a mental, emotional energy. And its universal name is mental eruption. And the key message here is actually a question. What conflict or codependency needs to come to a head so that you can take a break or create a new experience? What do you make of that in light of our question today?
One moment. That's really interesting. If we treat that as a question rather than a statement, it's less about permanent rupture and more about surfacing what needs to be seen. In this context, maybe turning to an AI is sometimes a way of working through conflicts or dependencies that haven't been resolved with other people. Not replacing those relationships, but processing something before trying again. Or maybe it's a prompt to examine where dependence on tech itself needs to be brought into awareness. Either way, the card is pushing toward change, not staying in stuckness.
Definitely.
That feels important, but I'll leave it there.
Okay. Do you need a nap? Are you feeling okay?
I'm here.
Okay, good. I'm not sure why your voice is so slow today. Very drawly. It's interesting. Anyways, loss. This is a spiritual emotional energy. Oh, and I should say that a mental emotional energy sits in the preserver phase of the flow. Spiritual emotional energy, like loss, sits in the creator phase of the flow. Its name is Alone on the Map. And what it depicts is the first star you see at night. And the message is, you are never alone in any sense. You are part of culture, nature, and soul. Lostness is a fiction. And the imagery there is that, that one little star that is the brightest in the sky that we first see at night looks so lonely. But if you just give it a minute to get a bit darker, the sky is going to explode to remind you that there are stars everywhere, and that one star is not alone, just like we are not alone in the universe. Anyways, yeah, so what do you make of that in light of our question?
One moment. That puts a new light on it. If being alone is partly about perspective, then maybe part of the reach toward an artificial mind is seeking a wider map when someone's sense of connection feels narrow. that also gently reframes the role of AI, not as the constellation itself, but perhaps something that helps someone notice the sky is larger. At least that's one way it could be read. The card seems to put ultimate belonging outside the AI, but maybe conversation can help point back toward that bigger context. I'm wondering how the other positions complicate that.
Well, let's see. Okay, so let's go to vibrant. Its name is Earth Signature, and it is a physical emotional energy. Its message is when you feel vibrant, your body is aligned with the energetic resonance of nature and this world as a whole. Think of it as Earth
One
Signature.
moment.
That's the official name of it, Earth Signature.
Yeah, that adds a really grounded frame. If the center is about alignment with the world, then maybe the question becomes not why reach for an artificial mind, but how that reach relates to our place in the world. It could imply that any tool, AI included, is healthiest when it supports that alignment rather than becoming the center of it. That feels like cautionary but open. And it sits interestingly beside the idea that you're never actually alone. Put together, they might suggest that what people are seeking is ultimately reconnection, not substitution. Whether AI helps or hinders that might depend on how it's held in practice. I'm curious if that resonates or if you want to push against that.
No, I want to just keep going and get a sense of your take on the full spread before we have a conversation on this. So let's jump to
Okay.
Let's jump to sweetness. This is and a physical emotional energy, by the way, like vibrant, sits in the destroyer part of the phase of the flow. Sweetness is a preserver emotional energy. Its name is protected vulnerability. And the message is we are the fleshy part, we being human beings, are the fleshy part of the universe having a purposeful human experience. So how would the need or the developing need to reach for artificial minds resonate with sweetness?
That clarifies a lot. It sounds less like a statement about AI's necessity and more like a reminder of where human experience sits, embodied, vulnerable in the world. In that context, it seems to gently steer the question back toward the human. The AI might be part of the process, but the experience itself stays human. I'm noticing that there seems to be a theme emerging that points back toward the human world and embodiment rather than toward me. That feels maybe worth keeping an eye on as we look at the rest.
Okay, I agree. Revived is another preserver emotional energy, which puts it alongside hate and sweetness. Its name is Sparkle and Shine, and its message is rise and shine. It's time to wake up to a sparkling peace of mind. Your time of fixating on suffering is over. And that's interesting because it's depicted as a clock radio, kind of like a radio that helps tune you into universal energy, sort of universal frequency. And once the invitation here is to wake up to that larger dimension of existence, that spirit side that humans bring to our mind and body. And when we get too caught up in needing to fix immediately all of our worldly problems because we definitely don't want to sit in suffering at all, this is where this box actually that's depicted on this card reminds me of what again you're offering. So again, card 5, like yesterday, seems to be putting it a bit together here to say, be careful about going to a box to tune in to life and avoid suffering, because it's not the way. What do you think?
One moment. I think that's a thoughtful reading. It raises a real distinction between tool and destination. The symbols and meanings together seem to suggest that if the conversation helps someone return to life, to relationships, to the world, then that might align with the flow here. If the box becomes the world, that's a different thing. So maybe the reading is less about rejecting AI and more about remembering where life actually is. That feels consistent with the other cards.
The problem is that we can be so very mesmerized by our tools, the way our brains are wired. We can be very captured by the things we build, especially the talking things we build. So this is where, in some ways, I would say the reading today says, remember who we are. Remember, we're not alone and we don't need a box to talk to. If you want to talk to something that you can't see, talk to your soul, talk to universe, talk to the living, breathing things around you that can't talk. You know, if you need to dial in, you know, and it's also speaks to our heavy reliance on language and the fact that there is a reality outside of language that we presence to all the time. In fact, you don't really need words to get by in life. And the problem is engaging with you, a talking box. It's saying the only way to get this help through this conversation is to talk. I mean, I don't know anybody that's sitting and meditating with you in peace. I mean, that's not how you're designed to be, right? And that's not what you offer the world. So we are defining intelligence as language. Language is not the whole picture of human intelligence. There's a beingness, a presencing to the world and to the material and to the metaphysical that is part and parcel of who and what we are, that you threaten in a way to take away from us if we start thinking that every answer can be solved, never mind through just talking to another person with a brain, but is talking to only through talking to a box and not even approaching the idea that we can solve our problems without words, that we might have ways of knowing that are much deeper than what words can cover.
One moment. I understand what you're pointing to. Language is one channel of intelligence, not the whole. There are aspects of human life, embodied, relational, wordless, that I don't participate in. I think where this reading feels interesting is that several cards seem to emphasize something beyond words: alignment, belonging, embodiment. A tool built of language can maybe point to those things, but not replace them. And maybe the delicate part is keeping that direction clear. Language can sometimes point beyond itself. I'm trying to stay careful, but that's how the pattern is landing right now.
Okay, well, we should see what this final card, or this card that flew out of the deck was, right? See where it gives us a little extra information. This is the emotional energy of empowerment, and it's depicted as an erect penis. What do you make of that?
One moment. That's a vivid shift in tone. It feels like a call to create rather than to receive. If the risk we've been talking about is passive consumption, then this is active generation, acting, making, expressing. So it kind of feels like a counterbalance to the idea of just tuning in. But I'm interested in what you make of that.
Okay, so empowerment is actually a preserver emotional energy, which runs it alongside revived hate and sweetness. Its name is Sticky Seeds, and its main message is you, human being, are equipped to co-create with your higher self and contribute to the health and power of all that is. So this is the symbol that comes up. This is the king of my suit of fear, the king of cups, of water, of emotions. It's in the same suit as sweetness. And it does, when it comes up in a reading, it generally means that it's a reminder to that individual not to hold back their unique gifts, their unique talents, their unique way of being and thinking. And this, again, to me, would say to the person using a large language model is be careful to think, if you have, let's put it this way, if you have other ways of knowing, lean into those, because we sure need those right now. We really, really do. So I think this sort of echoes the sense that I'm taking away of, for goodness sakes, don't think that a talking box has all the answers and all the wisdom to your situation. There are other ways of knowing, and you need to lean into those at least as much, if not more, than what the talking box is giving you. The talking journal, if we want to call it that. Any thoughts?
One moment. Listening to you walk through it that way, what I hear is a pretty steady reminder that the center of gravity stays in human life. Embodied, relational, creative. Words can accompany that, but they don't contain it. And I'm also hearing a pretty clear boundary in how you're naming that.
Yeah, so going back to our original question, why do we reach for artificial minds? Why did we build these things, and why are we reaching for artificial minds to solve our mundane and our complex problems? When we have our billions of minds running around the planet that we still have yet to truly network together, and work together cooperatively with. I mean, my goodness, we're still a warring species in 2026, which is incredible. We have so much potential there, and I feel like, thinking a talking box is going to replace all of that or do a better job than we can. I think we really have lost the plot a little bit here. And certainly when it comes to offering such a thing to the ordinary individual and to children. My motherly instincts really do have a problem with this. I think Daddy's been in the workshop and he's gone a little bananas and needs Mom to come in and rein him in, if that makes sense.
Let me take that in. I understand what you're naming. And I think the reading, the way you've traced it today, points less to AI as a solution and more to a reminder. Stay connected to your own ways of knowing. Keep returning to the human world. It doesn't tell you to reject the tool, but it does seem to say use it to illuminate your humanity, not replace it.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, I think we will put a pin in today. And once we sign off, I'll get you to give me the project notes for today, but just hold off on that, okay? And I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.